Hi everybody, it's Ray Pucci with the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to talk with you today about a very timely and important issue facing elected leaders here in Delaware County, whether or not to allow cannabis sales in our communities. The Delaware County Chamber of Commerce urges towns and villages not to opt out of the opportunity to allow cannabis-related businesses and to capture much-needed tax revenues. The Chamber seeks opportunities to sustain and to grow our local economy. Beyond retail opportunities, cannabis sales will allow our distressed farmers to tap into this multi-billion, with a B, billion-dollar industry through cultivation as well as through sales. Now, we understand that this is a controversial issue. Let me explain some of the reasons why the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce Board voted to approve this policy. First of all, the Chamber supports all legal businesses. Like it or not, cannabis sales is legal in New York State. Second, and let me just give you some numbers, and pardon me while I read these. And a lot of these numbers are taken from this report that was issued a few months ago that was published by the New School, talking about the economic and revenue impact of marijuana legalization in New York State. Total market demand for legal adult use cannabis, and we're only talking about legal adult use cannabis in New York State, is about $3.7 billion in the current fiscal year, with demand rising to $3.9 billion by fiscal year 2027. However, because legal sales would grow over time and gain market share at the expense of illicit sales, legal market sales would rise from $566 million. That's $566 million in the first full fiscal year of implementation, which would be fiscal year 2023, 2 years from now, to $2.6 billion 4 years later in fiscal year 2027. The report that I referenced uses these estimates to come up with this idea that state excise tax revenue would be $159 million in fiscal year 2023, rising to $765 million in fiscal year 2027. Now, the local share of that excise tax would generate about $25 million statewide. And that's in 2023, and that number would rise to $114 million in fiscal year 27. Now, I want to also point out that those numbers don't take into account local sales tax, which would effectively double those numbers I just mentioned. The report also uses a model to reflect 100% of in-state cultivation and processing of all cannabis to estimate that the $2.6 billion in retail sales that's projected for 2027 would generate over 50,000 jobs here in New York State. $2.2 billion in employee compensation, $4.7 billion in value added, and $6.1 billion in total economic output. Delaware County farmers, retail owners, residents, visitors are all going to lose if surrounding towns and counties allow cannabis sales. Visitors will flock to cannabis-friendly communities. Residents will simply buy those products elsewhere, depriving Delaware County of those tax revenues. The public policy question of whether cannabis should be legal is really not relevant at all to the issue of allowing adult use retail sales and cultivation facilities to operate in Delaware County communities. Adult use cannabis legislation was passed by the New York State Legislature and signed by Governor Cuomo back in March of 2021. Disagreement with the law should be taken up with our state representatives, not with our town supervisors and not with our mayors. Instead, the chamber, the Delaware County Chamber, urges local officials to support legal businesses and allow retail cannabis sales. More information at delawarecounty.org, where truly we are stronger together.